You know, tucked away inside every single aircraft, there's a book. It's not flashy, it's not some high-tech gadget, but it's more critical than any of them. It is the ultimate authority on how to fly that specific plane. So today, we're going to deconstruct one of these pilot's Bibles. We're diving into the aircraft flight manual for a modern trainer, the Tecnam P-Mentor. And when I say it's important, I mean it's legally mandatory. This quote here is printed right in the front of the manual. It's not a suggestion, it's a command. The Aircraft Flight Manual, or AFM, has to be on board for every single flight. It contains the precise, legally binding rules for that aircraft.
All right, so here's our flight plan for this explainer. We'll start with why it's called the pilot's Bible. Then we'll meet our aircraft, the P-Mentor. We'll get into the absolute rules of flying it, how to handle emergencies, why checklists are key, and finally, why this book is always evolving.
So why all the reverence for this manual? Well, it's because the AFM is the single source of truth for operating that plane. This isn't a book of helpful hints, it's the official, certified set of limitations and procedures. If a pilot goes against what's in this manual, they're not just flying unsafely, they're actually breaking the law. Now, to really bring these rules to life, we need a real-world example. So, say hello to the Tecnam P-Mentor, a pretty sleek, modern two-seat training aircraft. Every single rule and procedure we're about to talk about comes directly from its flight manual. Let's get a feel for the machine itself, shall we? This chart gives us a great sense of scale. We're looking at a wingspan of just under 30 feet, and it's powered by a 100 horsepower Rotax engine. It's a light, efficient machine, and every single number in its flight manual is tailored to these exact dimensions and this specific engine. Okay, so the manual is packed with all these critical acronyms that basically define the aircraft's performance envelope. A perfect example is VNE. Now, this isn't like the speed limit on the highway that, some people might bend a little. VNE, the never exceeds speed, is an absolute structural limit. It's based on pure physics. For our P-Mentor, that absolute limit is 135 knots indicated airspeed. If a pilot pushes the plane past this speed, they risk catastrophic structural failure. The aerodynamic forces can cause this thing called flutter, which can literally start tearing the plane apart in midair in seconds. So the manual doesn't say, try to avoid this speed. It says, never exceed. It is a hard limit drawn by physics. And those hard limits bring us to section 2 of the manual, limitations. This is really the heart of the rulebook. It's a short, direct section that lays out all the non-negotiable boundaries that keep the aircraft and everyone in it safe. This slide here perfectly illustrates the do's and don'ts. On the left, you've got your approved maneuvers, things like stalls for training and turns under 60 degrees of bank. But look at the right side. The prohibitions are absolute. No acrobatic maneuvers, no spins, no steep turns over 60 degrees. The manual is crystal clear about what this plane was built for and what it absolutely was not. It gets even more specific with load factors, or G-forces. The airframe is designed to handle a maximum of 3.8 times the force of gravity pulling up, like when you pull out of a dive, and it can handle negative 1.9 Gs in the other direction. But notice how that positive limit drops all the way to 1.9 Gs when the flaps are down. These aren't just random numbers. They are the calculated breaking points of the airframe itself. All right, now we enter the most dramatic part of the manual, Section 3, Emergency Procedures. This is where the manual really transforms from a rulebook into a lifesaver. It gives calm, clear, step-by-step instructions for some of the most stressful situations a pilot could ever face. The manual even defines its own terms to make sure there's zero doubt about what it means. When you see the word warning, it means one thing and one thing only. If you ignore the steps that follow, things could get very bad very fast. The language is designed to cut right through the chaos of a crisis. So let's see how this works in practice. Take an engine fire. The first critical steps are what pilots call boldface items. They have to be committed to memory, just known. The whole goal is to immediately starve the fire of fuel and electricity. There's no time to be fumbling around for a manual. A pilot's hands have to move instinctively. And check this out. Even a simple phrase like land as soon as possible gets a super precise definition. This removes all ambiguity. It doesn't mean land when you get a chance. It means right now, at the nearest place you can land safely. In an emergency, that kind of clarity is everything. So we go from the high drama of emergencies to the very foundation of what prevents them from happening in the first place, normal procedures. This is where safety is built.
not by reacting to a crisis, but through meticulous, disciplined routine. It is all about the checklist. Here's just a tiny piece of the before starting engine checklist. Seems basic, right? But this discipline, physically touching and verifying every single item, every single time, that's how you catch small problems before they turn into huge ones. This is the habit of safety that really defines a professional pilot.
And it doesn't just stop at starting the engine. Section 4 of the manual lays out checklists for every single phase of a flight, from taxiing out to takeoff, during the cruise, the landing, and even after shutting down, there is a formal written procedure. Nothing is left to memory or chance. This systematic approach is the absolute bedrock of aviation safety. But here's the thing, safety isn't static. And maybe the most important concept to grasp is that this manual isn't printed once and then forgotten on a shelf. It's a living document, constantly being updated to include new data, new procedures, and new safety lessons. The manual itself makes this crystal clear. The aircraft's owner is legally responsible for keeping it current. They get updates from the manufacturer and have to physically insert new pages into the binder. Flying with an outdated manual isn't just risky, it's a direct violation of the rules. And this timeline from the P-Mentor's manual is the proof. Look at that. Since it was first issued in March of 2022, it has been officially revised 8 times in just over a year. Each of those revisions includes things like fixing typos, optimizing performance numbers, and updating procedures for new modifications. It just goes to show you, aviation safety isn't a destination. It's a process of relentless, continuous improvement, and it's all logged right here. Ultimately, this flight manual is so much more than just a book. It's an entire system of safety. It's a dynamic, legally binding partnership between the manufacturer, the engineers, and the pilot in the cockpit. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other meticulously maintained, life-saving rule books are out there, guiding critical jobs hidden in plain sight all around us?